I feel Larry's legs are far lacking. They are behind his upper body. I do not see any cross-striated glutes top to bottom. And when I see his hamstrings, they're there. He has hamstrings, but they're not amazing. Coach Greg, in today's video, Larry Wheels not only wins his weight class, but he wins the overall at his very first classic physique competition. And so many of you are wondering, is Larry Wheels now a pro? Has he done it? Well, no, of course not. He won his first local show, an amateur show, one that now qualifies him for the amateur Mr. Olympia. And if he places well at that show, he then receives his pro card. And so we're going to go over his diet, how he made out, how did he look on stage, and what are his chances to turn pro and make it to the Olympia, of which his goal is to make it next year.
The leanest and lightest I've been in my adult life, sitting at about 230.8 this morning. The heaviest I've been as an adult is about 242. I walk around comfortably about 265 or so.
And so the first thing you need to know is Larry Weeks, 5 weeks ago, was 270 pounds. He's now 230.8. He had to get under 232 pounds to make weight. And so in 5 weeks, he lost 39 pounds. That's a lot. And he did so through a starvation diet. He was in a severe calorie-restricted diet, not eating any carbs for 3 whole weeks.
I've not had a carb now in 3 weeks. Zero.
I'm about like 1,000 calories a day right now?
Yeah.
More or less? Yeah.
0 carbs for 3 weeks.
0 carbs for 3 weeks? You're kidding though.
No.
3 weeks straight, 0
Yeah,
carbs?
0.
And so without question, Larry does not have as much muscle as he could have. But he had to do it. It's not his fault. He had no choice. He had to make 232 pounds or he wouldn't be able to compete.
At the Olympia, we make weight on Monday at 4 o'clock, and we don't compete until Wednesday, which means we get to go maxed out on the carb up, come in and see the 3D full version of Larry Wheels, which is going to be insane.
And so the coach right now is telling Larry what he wants to hear, not what he needs to hear. He's saying, hey, we're going to carb up a little bit, gain a couple pounds, but then we have to make weight again. And so for the next show, if you think you look good right now, wait till you see how much muscle you're going to have at the next show. You weigh 230.8. The next show, 245 to 250. In 2 days from now, we have to weigh in at 232, so we can't carb up fully. But for the next show, in a couple of days, we're going to put on, 18 pounds of muscle. All in the right places. You're going to explode everywhere. You're going to look like a freak. It's not going to happen. If he tries to put on 18 pounds of muscle in 2 days, it's not going to look good. He's going to spill over. He's going to look watery. He's not going to win. And so I know this coach has a lot of experience, but I also have a lot of experience. And I've never in my life seen anyone carb up and gain 15 plus pounds of quality muscle while carbing up for a show. It doesn't happen.
So I expect you to be a good 245 to 250 on stage.
And so let me get it straight. He's going to weigh in at 232, but he's going to be 245 to 250 on stage. Do you know someone who also makes weight for the Olympia? Chris Bumstead. Chris Bumstead has a ton of muscle and is in fact Larry Wheels' height. Chris Bumstead weighs in at about 239 pounds and competes at 239 pounds. He doesn't weigh in at 239 and blow up to 250. It doesn't work. And so why is it that Larry Wheels can put on 15 plus pounds of muscle in a carb up, but Chris Bumstead, the best classic physique competitor in the world, doesn't put on even more than a couple pounds? Why is that?
So what you're going to see is just a fully expanded muscle, but with no body fat, no layer of body fat around it, right? So you're going to see all that muscle pushing to the surface. It's going to look insane. It's a totally different 250 than you've seen before. And you're going to look twice as big.
I mean, have you ever heard this much nonsense? 20 pounds bigger. It's an illusion. We're going to magically trick the audience into thinking you can just eat 20 pounds and put it all in muscle in 2 days? Really?
Now you're going to be so anabolic. You've been depleted for so long. Everything we eat is going to convert to glycogen and it's just going to go straight to filling out the muscle bellies.
I mean, he's saying so many things that sound good, but it's just not true. The way it sounds is because you've dieted down to 4%, the next time you go up to 280, it's going to be totally different. It's all going to be muscle because now you're so anabolic. Because you shredded yourself down, you starved yourself for 3 weeks, you didn't have any carbs. The next time you eat, everything just turns to muscle. Well, if this were true, why doesn't everyone one just cut down to 4%, even if they don't compete, and then just starve themselves for months on end, and then when they start eating, it'll all grow into muscle. I mean, basically, he's saying that the key to gaining muscle is to starve yourself and lose muscle in the process, not hardly eat anything, and then once you start eating again, it just magically all turns to muscle. It doesn't work like that.
Your back double bicep is comparable with anybody on that Olympia stage right now currently.
And I'd have to agree, Larry's back double bicep is truly phenomenal. I think if he were on the Olympia stage, his back double bicep would in fact fit in with several of the competitors. But does the total package fit in? Does it balance out top to bottom, front to back? Well, that remains to be seen.
Once we get the pro card, we got 10 more pounds that we can go up.
And that is a great point. If Larry then gains 10 more pounds of muscle, it can compete at 242. And if that muscle goes in exactly the right places, for example, he doesn't need any more muscle in his back. His back already looks phenomenal, but he could balance out his quads, his hamstrings, his glutes could be more defined. And so if he's able to put on 10 more pounds of muscle in all the right places and then compete for an Olympia qualification, then at that point, I do believe he does have a shot.
Oh yeah, the suffering was legit. And I have all the respect for bodybuilding because just how much discipline it takes. It really is a test of discipline, as Ryan just said. A true test of discipline. Probably the most challenging 6 weeks I've had in my life.
And without question, Larry, one of the best sufferers in the entire world. This would have been a truly grueling and torturous prep. To lose that amount of weight and make that weight class in that short a period of time, Larry would have had to suffer like none other. But he was up for the challenge, and so for him to get this shredded to closing in on 4% body fat in his very first classic physique competition, that is truly remarkable. And so I do believe he has the mental fortitude to excel in classic physique bodybuilding. Many people can train harder than last time. Lots can eat healthy, but not too many can suffer to the extent to get this shredded for competition.
No carbs in several weeks, so you can imagine how it's going to hit different today.
And so he hasn't had carbs in several weeks, and what's the first thing he's going to eat? A steak. Steak is fats and protein. It's going to do nothing to fill up those muscles. He's carb depleted. When you carb up, guess what you eat? You eat carbs. I know I'm not his coach. I know he's an excellent coach, but how is eating a steak going to help him absorb more carbohydrates to help him fill out on stage? Would it not make sense that the first thing you consume to be carbs? And if he's so severely dehydrated, why is he not having any fluid? Yeah, I know he has to weigh in again in a couple days, but don't you think he could then lose the weight the following day? He has 2 days. Say he gets up to 240 pounds. Could he not lose 8 pounds in 2 days to then make weight the second time? I certainly think so. And one thing I know is not healthy whatsoever is being dehydrated for several days. And so the only thing worse than being dehydrated for 1 or 2 days is continuing on that dehydration perhaps a week straight. And so to me, it makes sense to dip down into that level of dehydration and then quickly get out of it. And then yet again, go back down. That is healthier than consistently being dehydrated.
There it is. That's the main event.
That is definitely
Yeah, main event right there. That's what it's all about.
I mean, it looks like he has a bigger steak than he has of carbs. Why would he have a tiny piece of steak, perhaps 100 grams, and add in more carbs? If you only have a certain amount of calories, should most of those calories not be carbs? And where's the water? You need 3 grams of water for every gram of carb to form glycogen, and so he does in fact need some water. And so I'm sure after tasting those carbs, Larry can realize just how difficult it is to stay on point following a competition. The taste, the satisfaction of eating carbs, it takes over your body. Many people following a competition, they can't handle it. They then gain 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds in the first month. Once you get a taste of those carbs, something takes over your body. It's very hard to stop. I've coached thousands of people in the past, and trust me, following the competition, it is very difficult to stay on point. Great front double bicep, in particular the upper body. I do see the quad on this side looks bigger than the other quad. That is something noticeable. I'm not trying to point out his flaws. I'm just trying to speak honestly. As a judge, what I see is an imbalance in his quad development. I don't know if you see it. I don't know if the judges will see it. He's certainly going to try to hide it. You place the better leg in front and you keep the weaker leg in behind. But to me, it's clearly noticeable. And when you have a lineup of people with perfect symmetry, perhaps not as big, perhaps not as dry, you're going to notice this. And from the side, he does look great. He looks very lean. However, I've seen leaner quads. From the side, I've seen striations moving around, twitches, fibers going everywhere. And so if Larry were even leaner this, and I'm not saying he's not lean, he is very, very lean. He's shredded. But there is levels to this sport. There are guys that look mind-blowing. You see that side chest pose, and it's true. truly remarkable. You can't believe what you're seeing. And so from the rear, the back double bicep, this is amazing. This is truly remarkable. This is a lot of muscle and it's very defined. However, in comparison to the lower body, remember, I'm just giving my honest feedback. I feel Larry's legs are far lacking. They are behind his upper body. I do not see any cross-striated glutes top to bottom. And when I see his hamstrings, they're there. He has hamstrings, but they're not amazing. And so Larry does have a fairly impressive vacuum. Give him that. He's done very well to do the vacuum. And his abs look significantly better than they were last week. And so the dehydration, the carb deplete that Larry has put on has worked tremendously well. He's in fact looking much better than I was expecting. And so I do believe he's going to win this competition. This physique is very hard to beat. This is a local show. This is not the nationals. This is a local competition. Hard to believe there's going to be a better physique than this at a local competition. And so you notice when he does the rear double bicep, you can see the black trunks squeezing in. What's going on is when bodybuilders stand on stage and they have truly shredded glutes, they're trying to show as much of it as possible. They're trying to show cross striations throughout. Larry Wheels, however, does not have those cross striations. I feel he would look better if he pulled back his trunks to cover the rear a little bit more. And so I do believe if Larry continues to diet and get even more shredded, those glutes will come out with more striations than ever before. And so I don't think the goal should be to compete at 245 or 250. His goal should be to stay shredded. Perhaps stay at 232, at least until you get your pro card. And at that time only should you be thinking of trying to compete at 242 on stage. And so in Larry's class, you can see right away, there's no competition here. Larry's winning by so much, it's not even funny. And so even as Larry's weakest body part, his legs are still dominating the competition. But remember, this is a local competition and he's not against the best physiques in the world. Clearly, he has so much muscle. He's 6'1", 232 pounds. That is a massive man. And so it's going to take other massive men to actually give him a challenge. But just so you get the best interpretation, what I truly notice as a judge is how there is a left to right imbalance in quad development. I'm not trying to pick him apart. I'm trying to give you my honest feedback. And so although I think he has an outstanding physique, easily deserving first place, I do see imbalances that could prevent him from getting to the Olympia stage. And so I do think I know what's going on. Larry does not hold that abdominal pose very long as his abs simply don't pop. And so although when he blows out and tightens the abs, it doesn't pop as much as it could. Perhaps it's from dieting too quickly. If he took more time to get down to that shred, he would then be able to do it. Perhaps he just needs to work on more abdominal posing. I'm not sure, but if he could get those abs to truly pop, what a physique Larry would have. And so it's not even close in the overall. Larry has dominated this competition. And so based on what I see right now, I do believe he has a great shot of winning the next competition. I know the top 3 qualify, but I do believe that Larry has what it takes to win the Mr. Olympia qualifying amateur competition. And so what the judges see is a David versus Goliath competition. They had the shortest competitor move to the front along with Larry Wheels. The tallest versus smalls. These are the 2 best physiques in the competition. Larry still dominating the shorter opponent. Perhaps if the shorter component were 6 inches taller, he'd have a chance. Larry simply out-muscling this guy. I'm sure it's not even close. I'm certain all judges would have Larry for first place in the overall. And so great job by Larry Wheels and his coach. Amazing to have gotten down from 270 to 230.5. I would have been panicking had I been coaching Larry Wheels to lose that much weight, but look at the results. Truly remarkable, way better than I expected him to do. And so I'm hoping that he uses the knowledge from this competition to repeat the same thing. It's not about trying to put on 15 more pounds. Larry looks perfect as he is right now. Perhaps cover up the glutes, diet a little bit harder in the future, and Larry perhaps can make it to the Olympia stage with 10 more pounds of muscle, in particular into the lower half of his body, balancing out the upper half. That is going to be a physique to behold.
Guys, I've done arm wrestling, strongman, powerlifting. Bodybuilding, in my opinion, is the most difficult sport.
And so Larry, who's done several different sports, by far bodybuilding the most difficult of the bunch.
You spend so much of your life, several times a day, eating and enjoying food. You have to make that sacrifice to become a pro bodybuilder, let alone climb to the top.
And so Larry, he now knows what it's like to truly be a bodybuilder. He got shredded, 4% body fat. This is amazing. He did the depletion, he dehydrated, he did everything he was told to do, and so he truly deserved this victory.
I'm still 232, so at this moment.
And so Larry points out, I'm 232 at this moment. Remember I said when you compete and you're sweating, it's hard to put on a lot of weight? He's only 1.5 pounds above what he weighed in at, and he has to weigh in at 232. He's weighs 232 right now. And so if it was better to have carved up more, weighed in at, for example, 235, he would have had no trouble, think of it, losing 3 pounds in 2 days. And so I do not believe for 1 second Larry's going to weigh anything close to 240. I know his coach said 245 to 250, but mark my words, remember, I'm recording this on Monday morning. He's not weighing over 240. 245 to 250, ridiculous. If he does that, he's going to look bloated. He's not going to look good on stage.
So you'll see just this condition with a little more fullness on the Olympia amateur stage.
Exactly. A little more fullness. Not 15 pounds. That is night and day. Larry Wheels to gain 15 pounds. That is going to be Larry in his off season. We don't want an off season Larry standing up on stage. We want a shredded and dry Larry Wheels just as we did right now with perhaps a little bit more carbs than last time. And so I think Larry has proved all the haters wrong, perhaps even me, as he looks phenomenal competing in classic physique. I was not sure he'd be able to make the weight class. I thought perhaps he was just too big, but he is over 6'1", same height as Chris Bumstead, and so a very massive human being. He dieted, made the weight class for competition, and truly looked remarkable on stage. He won easily with no one even close, and so best of luck to Larry Wheels at the Mr. Olympia Amateur and on to the pro stage. And if there was only one supplement I would add into Larry's repertoire, GO2 Max. He wants more energy, he wants more stamina, more endurance to get through the cardio, the workouts. Look no further than GO2 Max, the main ingredient, NMN shown in double-blind placebo-controlled human studies, not rat studies, showed it works tremendously well, and not just for couch potatoes, for everyone, elite athletes and the likes. Please consider GO2 Max, this, the #1 supplement I would recommend. Interested in this, the G-Test, protein bars, you name it, head over to my website, code Greg, 10% off, click the link in the description. Like the video if you like it, don't forget to subscribe and click on that bell button to get notified. Then you can type messages right away, helps with the algorithm. Don't forget to watch one of those 2 bloops. And as per usual, the cookbooks, the training books, coaching plans by me and my team, the harder than last time clothing line, tank tops, hoodies, jogging pants, everything. Head over to the website, code Greg, 10% off. And of course, the free diet and training program, close to 50 pages. Head over there right now. And until next time, I am out.